What is going on, everybody? Royal Rapids here, and welcome back to yet another Hardcore Nuzlocke on the channel. For the first time in a while, we're headed back to the Hoenn Region, as today we're going to find out if I can take on Pokemon Emerald as a Hardcore Nuzlocke using only Dark types. Now, Dark types in Generation 3, unfortunately have their only stab being special, and like literally all of them are physical attackers, because Game Freak was stupid and decided to make Dark a special type, even though all of its moves like Bite, Crunch, Faint Attack, your typical Dark moves all became physical in Generation 4. With that aside, whatever. We'll have 7 total encounters in this run, meaning if we have more than one death, we're not going to have a full team. And with how difficult the Elite Four tends to be in Pokemon Emerald, and especially the Champion Wallace, I do not foresee this run going well if we have more than one death early. I ended up picking Mudkip as my starter for HM usage later in the game because of the plentiful water HMs present in the early generations, and I start catching my early game encounters, that being a Dark-type Poochyena and a Grass and Dark-type Seedot. Well, actually, Seedot is Mono Grass, but once I evolve it, we get the Grass and Dark-type Nuzleaf, who is a victim of the absolutely atrocious Generation 3 level-up movesets. I pick up the TM for Bullet Siege. That's like the only Grass-type move Nuzleaf is able to learn at this point, I'm pretty sure. But it's probably all we're going to need, as we're going to take on the Rock-type user Roxanne, who of course leads with Geodude. And if you know anything about Geodude, you know it is quad weak to Grass-type attacks. Rock and Ground types, man, they definitely have the short end of the stick in the early game. I can set up a Growth and get hit by a Rock Tomb, which is actually pretty clutch, because since the AI views Rock Tomb as a speed control move, since we outspeed both the Geodudes but not the Nosepass will never go for Rock Tomb because it outspeeds us. So it has a 1 in 3 chance of basically either going for Tackle, Harden, or Block, 2 of which are completely useless, allowing us to get a clean KO with a few more Bullet Seeds and get out of Gym number 1 without much trouble. We can pick up some type boosting held items on the way to do for down, picking up the Miracle Seed for Grass type moves and the Silk Scarf for normal type moves. And while heading to Granite Cave, we can pick up the Ghost and Dark type Pokemon with no weaknesses, that being Generation 3's own Sableye. And thankfully for us, Sableye's ghost typing means that Brawly actually can't touch him, as he only has normal and fighting type moves. And without access to Foresight, we can slowly but surely whittle down his 3 fighting types and get our second super easy gym badge over the fighting type leader. Next up is May number 2, which is the only time in this game she's actually relevant, and this fight actually can be fairly difficult. I go for Growth as Wingull just misses a Supersonic. I really should have gone for Fake Out. And Bullet Seed does decent damage, but unfortunately only rolls 2 hits as she switches into Grovyle. It's rare that the AI switches in Generation 3, so I actually do have to switch myself, because Fury Cutter obviously does 4 times damage to the Grass and Dark type Nuzleaf, but thankfully we can bring in Terror the Sableye, go for a few Nightshades, and down May's second stage starter, bringing Wingull back in. Now Nightshade is doing fixed 20 damage, and a Nightshade and Scratch combo down the Wingull, bringing in Slugma. But Slugma is absolutely terrible, and a Nightshade Scratch combo once again gets the KO, defeating May number 2 without much trouble. Our streak of good times is about to come to an abrupt end, though, as the fight versus Watson is usually the hardest fight in Generation 3, especially for gym leaders. Now, Voltorb loves to go for self-destruct when it's at low health, so I predict by going into Sableye and getting an immunity, obviously, to the normal type move, allowing Terror to come in for free and grow both Nuzleaf and Sableye, both level 25, which is allowed in Hardcore Nuzlocke rules, as the gym fight already did start. Now, Electrike here is fortunately not very good, and is definitely the weakest of his team members, but it does have access to Static, meaning that contact moves will paralyze us. I did put Cherry Berry on all of our Pokemon to at least give us 1 free paralysis. And knowing Watson's going to heal, I'm able to bring in Mightyena for free and try to start setting up with Howls. Now, sometimes Watson will just spam Howl on Electrike, and with his only physical attacking move being Quick Attack, that's not the best play in the world for him, but unfortunately he does get 2 Shockwaves off, and also gets a Static Paralysis off, meaning we already burn our Cherry Berry. Now, the reason I taught Rock Smash was to do super effective damage into the Magneton, and thankfully we do even get a defense drop, but he does get off a Shockwave, paralyzing us, and unfortunately leaving us with 19 HP and paralyzed. It is not safe to keep Mightyena in. Now, here with Manectric, it has access to Shockwave, Howl, and Quick Attack, much like the Electrike, but obviously being a fully evolved Pokemon, its stats are much better. Quick Attack leaves Nuzleaf with 17 HP, and we proc it Citrus Berry, putting it back into the green. But thankfully, we can kind of play around its moves, as Nuzleaf resists Shockwave, and obviously Terror, the Sableye, is immune to Quick Attack. Nightshade is our best damaging move, and with 15 HP, we take out the Manectric, and by the skin of our teeth, get a deathless victory over the 3rd Hoenn Gym Leader. That was not fun whatsoever. Now here on Mount Chimney, it's time to take on our good old friend, the Magma leader Maxi, who leads with a Mightyena. Now our Mightyena is obviously better than his, as we can intimidate his and take a special bite, which obviously does not leverage Mightyena's better attacking stat. After setting up a Howl or 2, we can eventually go on the offensive. We unfortunately do get our accuracy lowered. Regardless, it does not matter, as a couple Rock Smashes get the job done and take out Maxi's Dark-type dog, leading into Zubat. Now obviously at -2 accuracy I don't want to stay in here, so I switch into Sableye, who takes a wing attack pretty effectively. I go for Detect to see what Zubat's going for, and seeing that it's going to be wing attack, we just go for 2 secret powers and get the job done over the unevolved bat, leading into Camerupt. Now Camerupt really sucks, and we can make it suck even more by dropping its attack with an Intimidate and its accuracy with a Sand attack. Now unfortunately for us, nothing can ever be that simple, as Camerupt, despite getting in the red multiple times, Maxi just loves to save it with super potions, and also has a critical hit with Ember, leaving our Mightyena with only 8 HP. After a second super potion, we're obviously forced to switch here as I bring in Sableye, and I should have probably gone for Fake Out there, I didn't, but thankfully he just misses Magnitude and 2 secret powers get the job done. Man, in a Nuzlocke with limited encounters, nothing can be simple. But fortunately for us though, I think I do have a strategy that can actually make Flannery at least somewhat simple. Her lead Numble absolutely sucks, meaning that it's usually set up fodder in most runs. It just sets up Sunny Day and like spams Magnitude, but even underground, a Magnitude 6 does like 2 damage, allowing us to get the KO with a +4 dig. Obviously, Slugma's go down in one hit because Slugma is absolutely terrible. Her Camerupt actually doesn't have any ground-type moves. It just misses an Overheat while we're underground. And the reason we had to get the +4 is because that's what we need to hit a super effective dig and break through Torkoal's high defense, getting us our 4th Hoenn Gym badge. It's nice to be back on Easy Street after a ridiculously tough Watson battle and a fairly tough Maxi battle, but I can't imagine with our 3 encounters to this point that things are going to get much easier. We can pick up a 4th encounter, that being Cacnea, but since it evolves after Norman's level cap, it'll be unable to join the team for our 5th gym badge. Regardless though, leveling up to everyone to level 31, our trio of Pokemon, Mightyena, Nuzleaf, and Sableye are going up against Norman's normal types. Now thankfully for us here, Spinda actually really sucks, and we can stall it out of most of its attacks by switching between Nuzleaf and Sableye. Facade obviously we're immune to with Sableye, and Nuzleaf resists Fate attack, meaning that it's just going to spam Teeter Dance, and eventually it's going to go for something stupid, allowing us a window to take it out. And Spinda obviously is not known for its excellence either. I think it's base 60 across the board in all its stats. Eventually we will whittle it down and not be confused, and thankfully coming in on a Facade, we can go for a secret power and take out the stupid bear without taking any damage. In comes Vigoroth, and it's the same idea. Its only attacking moves are obviously normal type moves and also Feint attack, meaning that we can pretty easily stall it out of attacks by switching between Sableye and Nuzleaf. This fight is not the most interesting fight in the world, but one funny thing I noticed Norman likes to do is when I go for Fake Out, since it outspeeds, it can Encore me into Fake Out, meaning I can't do any more damage and I'm forced to switch. And this Norman has Hyper Potions, he's really stalling me out of Fake Out power points, which would have been pretty clutch into stalling out Slacking as well. As you can see here, we keep just getting Encored into Fake Out, wasting more Fake Out PP, and eventually we're going to be forced to take on Vigoroth 1v1. Not until we keep switching back and forth on normal type moves and on dark type moves, trying to get the either resisted or immune hit, and thankfully eventually Secret Power does eventually paralyze, locking Vigoroth in full paralysis and allowing a few more to get the KO. Now this fight against Slacking is absolutely ridiculous. We can go for Detect on its loafing turns, but this is not a fun fight whatsoever, so I'm gonna skip forward and save you the absolute terror that comes into this run, no pun intended. This is an absolutely ridiculous fight. I got myself into this absolutely ridiculous stall fest, but eventually we hit a critical hit Feint attack, Slacking goes down, and thankfully his final Lanoon only has normal type moves and no way to hit a ghost type, as we finally take out Norman and got our 5th straight Deathless Gym badge. Now we can evolve Cacnea into Cacturne, getting a 4th team member, and as we head over past Mauville City into the water route, we can pick up ourselves a Good Rod and fish up our next 2 encounters, that being the duo of water dark type Sharpedo and Crawdaunt. Now, I've used both of these Pokemon in runs before, and they both low-key hard carried. Crawdaunt was an absolute GOAT in my Pokemon Emerald Never Used run, which is one of my favorite Nuzlocks on the channel. If you haven't watched it yet, please check it out. Now over in the Weather Institute, we can take on Aqua Admin Shelly and try to use some of our new Pokemon. I lead with Malicious the Sharpedo and take out its pre-evolved form with a few crunches as Mightyena comes in, as I like to switch into our new team member Foul the Cacturne, who obviously has super effective damage with the Bug-type Pin Missile. Pin Missile's not the best move in the world, but we get swaggered, and with +2, a 3-hit Pin Missile actually takes out the Mightyena, winning us the fight. Next up is the final mandatory May rival battle, and this fight is never difficult. It kind of sucks that May becomes completely useless after her really tough fight in her second battle on that route before Mauville City. Regardless, this fight is, like I said, not particularly difficult in the slightest. We can switch into Foul, and once again, Pin Missile's usefulness comes in clutch as the super effective bug move low-key put in work. A 2-hit does half, and since Grovyle goes for Screech, we can take our second KO of the mid-game with Pin Missile. Pin Missile low-key secretly good. Now I stay in here, and at -4 defense, a Swift from Lombre actually almost kills Cacturne. If I would have lost a Pokemon to Maze Lombre, you wouldn't be seeing this video right now, because that would have been the worst thing I've ever done in my Pokemon playing life. Regardless, we get the KO, defeat May, and we can pick up our final team member, that being the Mono Dark-type Absol. And with learning Swords Dance through Level Up, you can only imagine how amazing those late-game sweeps are about to be. Before we can worry about that, though, it's time to take on Winona. And thanks to my access to infinite Game Corner coins from my amazing, secretly super real Game Boy Advance, both Crawdon and Sharpedo have access to the Ice-type move, and we're able to get clean one-shots on both their Swablu and Tropius, as obviously they're quad effective. I also EV trained both Crawdon and Sharpedo in special attack, meaning that they're able to use their not best attacking stat to the best of their ability. I bring in Sharpedo here to just go for Slash to finish off the super annoying protecting Pelipper before Skarmory comes in. Now, unfortunately for us, we don't actually really have anything good into Skarmory, as its really tough defenses are going to be hard to break through. I go for Bite, forgetting that Steel actually resists Dark-type moves in Generation 3. I believe that persists until Generation 5 or 6. Weird that I wouldn't know that, because I, never play those generations, and I always play Generations, 1 through 4. Regardless, it doesn't matter. I bring in Sableye, as Nightshade probably would be our best move. We actually got rid of Nightshade, which I clearly realized here. They go for Secret Power, trying to fish for a Paralysis. I eventually do get it, but Skarmory still is above half health, as I bring in Mightyena, trying to drop its attack one more stage. Now at -2, Steel Wing isn't doing a ton, so I like to bring back in Crawdon, which is one of my more defensive Pokemon. Only taking 5 hit points of damage in the process, and downing the Skarmory with a critical hit Surf. Altaria goes for Dragon Breath, which is pretty good damage, but thankfully we avoid the Paralysis, and one more quad effective Ice Beam gets the KO, and defeats Winona, earning us our 6th gym badge. We're still deathless, and we're trying to keep that up here, as Maxi, being colorblind as he is, uses the blue orb to wake up the red Pokemon, starting a rampage and forcing us to fight him. We get our attack dropped here, unfortunately, but we actually get back to +1 as a Swagger comes in, and we break through confusion, once again hitting a Pin Missile. I don't know why I was so dead set on making Pin Missile useful in this run, but hey, it has low-key carried in this mid to late game. I switch into Mightyena, dropping his Mightyena's attack as we come out on a Super Potion, and I start going for Secret Power, which in this terrain has access to flinching. We get confused by Swagger, and I unfortunately do hit myself, as a takedown, if it would have crit, would have got the clean KO on us. Thankfully, it didn't do that, and we hung on in the yellow thanks to Intimidate, allowing us to go for Pin Missile once again, and after a Swagger attack boost, we hit through and get yet another Pin Missile KO, our Pin Missiling King Cacturne. I bring in Absol here, and I elect to go for Slash, which doesn't even do half on Crobat, and unfortunately, we're not able to stay in here as I'm forced to switch. Crobat is low-key kind of terrifying here, as its high speed and decent attack does pretty good damage into all of our Pokemon. Hits a speedy Confuse Ray into our Crawdon, which is stupidly slow, probably outsped by anything in this game. But thankfully we snap out of Confusion instantly and down the bat with a second Ice Beam, leaving just Camerupt, who obviously gets drowned by a quad-effective Surf, getting us a deathless Maxi victory. Now, unfortunately for us here, I lost the footage for Tate and Liza, so I'm going to show you a little artist rendition of what I think happened. Now, we go for Surf here with both our Crawdon and our Sharpedo, which obviously does enough damage to down the Claydol and do about half damage to Xatu in the process. Now, Lunatone comes in and replaces Claydol, as I go for Ice Beam to take out Xatu, who set up Calm Mind on the first turn. Now, in Generation 3, Pokemon get sent out instantly in double battles, meaning that Solrock comes in now, and since Sharpedo is, or Crawdon for that matter, is really slow, we can go for Surf with Crawdon and also Sharpedo, which obviously does pretty huge damage into the two Rock types, getting the clean KO, and getting our team of Dark types an easy deathless victory over Tate and Liza. Now, obviously, I hope you like my artist rendition here. You know, I'm actually secretly one of the best artists of all time, and I hope that this rendition here was even better than watching the game footage. I have no idea how I lost the footage. It just happens every once in a while, I guess. I usually record these runs in one sitting, and I guess I lost it, but obviously, I hope you can believe that my team of Dark types wouldn't have that much of a challenge into Tate and Liza, especially with access to 2 Pokemon trained in special attack, with base 95 power super effective stab moves into 3/4 of their Pokemon. Now, you know what fight is challenging? This stupid multi-battle with Steven, because the AI is really stupid, especially as your partner Pokemon, and they can do things that just really don't help you. To make matters even worse, Mightyena just loves going for Swagger, and his Metang, which I don't know why they couldn't just evolve it to make things easier for me. They love having under-evolved pseudo-legendaries. Look at Lance and Johto with his level 40 Dragonite and the Rocket Hideout in Heart Gold Soul Silver. Regardless, it's kind of hard to commentate these double battles, but just know Maxi keeps getting lucky going for Swaggers and getting me to hit myself in Confusion, and he loves hitting Earthquake too, which thankfully Golbat is immune to, meaning that it's hitting full power into both of my sides. Metang refuses to go down here, as it would low-key be better to have Skarmory or Aggron come in, but thankfully it does get the KO on Golbat, bringing in a Mightyena, which obviously gets an Intimidate drop. Earthquake almost takes down Crawdon and finally takes down his stupid Meting, bringing in Aggron, but thankfully a Surf downs both the Camerupt and the Mightyena, leaving just a low health Mightyena on the other side. Aggron just wastes time charging up a Solar Beam, and I like to switch into Sharpedo. It just goes for Swagger, but thankfully Aggron is able to break through and hit a Solar Beam for chip damage, bringing out the final Crobat. Now, Crobat is low-key really annoying to play around, as Aggron hits itself in Confusion, and Ice Beam does about half. Wing Attack does over half to my Sharpedo, but since I outspeed, one more Ice Beam gets the job done, and once again, by the skin of our teeth, we escape this multi-battle deathless. Next up is going to be the fight against Archie, who also is colorblind and wants to use the red orb on the blue Pokemon. And as is law for Generation 3 evil team leaders, of course he's going to lead with an intimidating, swaggering Mightyena. Now, thankfully, even though we do get swaggered here, we fortunately do not hit ourselves in Confusion, and one more Ice Beam downs the Dark-type dog, bringing in Crobat. I switch in Absol, but I get immediately confused by Confuse Ray and hit myself, meaning that Absol, not the best Crobat counter. That's 2 times in a row that it's just been unable to do anything to a Crobat. Sharpedo takes huge damage on the switch, but thankfully just proc a little bit of rough skin damage, allowing Crawdaunt to come in, tank a Wing Attack, go for Ice Beam, and down the stupid fully evolved bat in one hit. Thankfully, we do learn Swords Dance by level up here, and although we're going mostly special, I promise you I will have some use for the attack boosting move, especially later on in the game. Last but not least is Sharpedo, but I do have a decent amount of fully evolved, fully health teammates remaining, and I can go for a super effective Needle Arm onto the Sharpedo. Unfortunately, I get swaggered and hit myself in Confusion, meaning that can't happen, so I'm forced to switch once again. Our Mightyena's our only full health teammate remaining as we get slashed onto 95 HP, and swaggered, of course. At +2 attack, will we break through Confusion? We will, and we get the clean KO on the Shark, defeating Archie deathless, and earning us the right to do usual 10-year-old activities like waking up an ancient god on top of a pillar, flying back to Sutopolis City and seeing said ancient god break up a fight between 2 other ancient gods, you know, just usual 10-year-old stuff that, you know, average Japanese children apparently do. With that, you know, little minuscule task aside, it's time to take on the 8th and final gym leader, that being the Water-type user Hoenn, who leads with the most, you know, powerful Pokemon of all time, being Luvdisc. I put a Persimberry here on my good friend Fowl the Cacturne, because Luvdisc loves to confuse with either Sweet Kiss or Water Pulse. And I'm able to get the +2. Unfortunately, I do get confused, but I break through, and a +2 Needle Arm obviously gets the clean KO on Luvdisc. I once again break through and get a clean KO on Celio. Things are going real good for me now as Kingdra comes in. Now, Kingdra loves to spam Double Team, but I snap out of Confusion and hit through the Double Team, which that's super lucky as is. And obviously we have the Can't Miss Feint attack, which with it being special in Generation 3, it's obviously going to be boosted by Growth. And since it can never miss even through Double Teams, Kingdra can rest as much as it wants. Eventually we'll get the KO, and we defeat Hoenn's Ace without taking any damage. Crawdaunt is slow as dirt, so after going for a useless taunt, it obviously gets one-shot by a +2 Needle Arm, and Whiscash, obviously being a water ground type, just goes for a Rain Dance and gets sent to the Shadow Realm with a second +2 Needle Arm, finishing the Gym Leader Challenge, getting us our 8th and final gym badge, and earning us the right to take on the Elite Four. After an uneventful easy Wally fight in Victory Road that I don't elect to show for the sake of brevity, we can look at our team for one last time. Nefarious the Nuzleaf will ride the bench as our team of 6, Mightyena, Absol, Sableye, Cacturne, Sharpedo, and Crawdaunt will take on the final challenge, the Elite Four. First up is Sydney, but with how level cap mechanics work here in Hardcore Nuzlocke, we have like a 9 level advantage on him. I can just set up Swords Dance here in his Mightyena, which loves to go for Sand Attack. Even at -2 accuracy, it won't matter as we have the never missing Aerial Ace, allowing us to one-shot most of his Pokemon. Obviously, Cacturne and Shiftry are weak to it, and at +2 with this much of a level advantage, we're never in any real damage here. His Crawdaunt comes out, obviously, like I said, +7 level advantage. He goes for Swords Dance. Since we outspeed, we're not in any danger. He can full restore all he wants, don't matter. It's only wasting our time. Last but not least is Absol. It hangs on with a thread, but just goes for Swords Dance. But like I said, with our level advantage, we outspeed, and one more Aerial Ace gets the job done, thankfully defeating our first of the 4 Elite Four members without any trouble whatsoever. Now, next up is the Ghost-type trainer Phoebe, who we obviously have a type advantage into, as Dark is super effective against Ghost. If you played Pokemon before, I'm sure you know that. And her Dusclops loves to spam Protect, meaning it's usually setup fodder, but unfortunately for us, it goes for Confuse Ray. And while Cacturne got super lucky against Hoenn, I don't want to play it as risky here against the Elite Four, as I switch on a Curse, which is pretty clutch, meaning that we obviously won't get Curse on the switch back. I go back into our good old buddy Fowl the Cacturne here on a Shadow Punch, which is really pitiful damage. Dusclops has bad attacking stats, and also we resist it. As I go to +1, I could have gone to +2 because it loves to spam Protect, but regardless, a +1 super effective Feint attack gets the KO. Out comes our second Dusclops, which is the attacker. We just get the one-hit KO on it cleanly, that's always nice. Banette comes out and goes for Grudge, meaning that Feint attack is going to lose all of its power points, which is kind of unclutch. But fortunately for us, Sableye actually is neutral to both Needle Arm and Feint attack, meaning that we can just go for Needle Arm here. And the final Banette, not the most defensive Pokemon in the world, goes on in one more Needle Arm, meaning that is our second late-game Fowl the Cacturne sweep. Our absolutely clutch Cactus King strikes again. Now, unfortunately for us here, it's going to be the fight against Glacia, who I usually find to be the hardest Elite Four member. Now, Things start off decently enough as I can go for Swords Dance on my Absol, trying to get as high as I can without getting paralyzed. With 94 HP remaining, I look at time to start sweeping as Slash takes out Celio. Next up comes Glalie. Glalie kind of sucks, AD base everything, goes down in one slash. Now if the first Celio and the first Glalie went down to a single slash, what do you think happens? Goodbye Celio, in comes Glalie, the hail stops, goodbye Glalie. Now one problem I noticed, I actually cannot one-shot Walrein with Slash. Now, if only there was a normal type move that I could use that would one-shot Walrein. Definitely not foreshadowing here, by the way. I bring in Cacturne here on an Ice Beam, but we almost got one-shot cleanly by it, leaving us with only 4 HP remaining. Things are not looking good right now as we bring in Sableye on a Surf, who thankfully takes it pretty well. I let me go for Fake Out for Chip, which is absolutely pitiful damage. That was maybe, what, like 5%? I go for Detect, seeing it's going for Ice Beam, but it's obviously going for a random move here, as it can probably do decent damage rolls with no matter what of its moves that it uses, since we have no weaknesses. I go for Detect here after a Citrus Berry, trying to see if I can switch on the Surf, which thankfully it goes for, bringing in Crawdaunt decently for free. We could tank one more Surf or Ice Beam as we go for Aerial Ace, but we proc it Citrus Berry, bringing it back into the green. This Walrein is not being fun to deal with right now. I like to just have to let Crawdaunt go down here, unfortunately, giving us our first death of the run. And as you can see here, things have the potential to really spiral out of control. I bring in Mightyena to go for an Intimidate, which is useless because Walrein has no physical moves, and Ice Beam does over half, and Glacia goes for a full restore. I am not having fun right now. Secret Power gets a critical hit and a paralysis back-to-back, but Mightyena unfortunately goes down, giving us death 2 of the battle. I don't really know what to do here, so I bring in Malicious, obviously, and go for a Crunch. Thankfully, it gets the KO, and we get out of Glacia with 2 deaths. I'm glad to be alive, and I don't think Drake will be much of a challenge, as we still have an Ice Beamer alive. But that was not a fun Glacia fight, and as you know in Nuzlocke, things can really tend to spiral out of control. Shelgon loves to spam Protect, but I just go for Ice Beam just in case it doesn't, and we actually don't get the clean KO because it's only 2 times effective. But I can go for a Slash and Ice Beam combo and eventually take out the Middle Evolved Dragon without taking any damage. Now in comes Altaria, who is quad weak to Ice Beam, but it's beefy special defense stat, meaning it hangs on in the red and gets off a Dragon Dance. Goes for a double edge, does huge damage and KOs itself with recoil, but obviously we're not safe to stay in here against Kingdra with only 60 HP remaining, because Citrus Berries in Generation 3 only restore 30 HP. Kind of stupid, but whatever. We go for Fake Out on Kingdra here, and I can start just trying to spam attacks into this thing. I can go for Dragon Dance all at once, because its only physical attack is Body Slam, but obviously Sableye being a ghost type is immune to Body Slam. We hang on from 2 Surfs with 8 HP and take out the Kingdra with a second Shadow Ball, but as Flygon comes in, I don't have a safe switch into any attacks that it has, so I'm forced to let our good buddy Sableye go down. You've done a lot for this run, Sableye. Thank you for your service, and that is death number 3 as you bring in Sharpedo for free. And Ice Beam obviously gets the quad effective clean KO, as in comes Salamence, who's also quad weak to Ice. And its not so great special defense means it goes down in 1 hit, paving our way to take on the final challenge of the run, that being the champion and the water type user Wallace. After moving around my movesets, our team of 3 versus Wallace's team of 6, let's see how the final fight of this run goes. He leads off with this trusty Wailord of course, which kind of sucks, so I just bring in Malicious here to go for an Earthquake. Wailord has a huge HP stats, but his defenses are both like 45, I think, meaning we can bring it down into the red pretty easily, and think a pretty pitiful low HP Water Spout. If I can get Wallace to waste his full restores here on Walrein, that'd be pretty clutch, and by Walrein I mean Wailord, obviously. I still have PTSD from Glacia's Walrein. I go for a Crunch Earthquake combo, and eventually the Whale goes down, making it a 3v5. Now, I don't intend to get out of this fight deathless at all. I need to do everything I can to guarantee a win. And after going for an Ice Beam, hoping for a Hail Mary freeze, Ludicolo gets the KO with Giga Drain, giving us death number 4. Thank you, Sharpedo. Your sacrifice will hopefully not be in vain. After deliberating for a while, I like to switch into my good friend Fowl the Cacturne, who has been pretty clutch in the late game. And I can set up a growth here, as Ludicolo doesn't have anything good into Cacturne. It loves to set up Double Team, that's what I have Faint Attack for. And a +2 Faint Attack is pretty good damage, leaving it in the yellow. After we tank one final Surf, a second Faint Attack gets the KO, and makes it a 2v4. But in red health, I'm unfortunately just forced to go for a Hail Mary. I don't get anything off, and an Ice Beam takes out Cacturne, leaving just one final team member, that being the Mono Dark-type Absol. Now, obviously, Milotic loves to spam Toxic here, and I have Rest with a Chesto Berry equipped, trying to get as much setup as I can before I have to heal. I get to +4 and start slashing away. Milotic goes down, in comes Tentacruel. It's more specially bulky, so we get the KO with Slash. Whiscash, pretty bulky, we go for Slash, no critical hit, and it hangs on with a Sliver. This is unfortunate here, as Wallace is going to heal, but I can use my Resto Chesto strat to get back up to full on the same turn. Now, I don't know if Slash is a damage range or not. I go for it. We actually do less damage, but thankfully Whiscash just goes for Amnesia, which is completely useless, wasting another full restore in the process, but eventually we will down it with 2 more Slashes, getting the KO. Last but not least is Gyarados. I go for Slash, and I just pray. With an Intimidate, we're now only at +3. and we watch the HP bar tick down. Gyarados survives and goes for Dragon Dance. This is not going to be fun, but I have no choice but to pray. Will Wallace heal? What'll he go for? I don't know. He goes for Hyper Beam, and I have to just watch Absol's HP bar go down. That's it. We lost the run. Now, as I alluded to earlier, if only there was a normal type move that was better than Slash. You know, there is a move that you can get, right? That's base 102 power, called Return. If we had Return, we would have been able to one-shot Glacia's Wall Rain with Absol at +4. Also, another way I could have won that fight, I could have easily set up to +6, but I was afraid of the Body Slam paralysis, which, kind of stupid in retrospect. I mean, I get it, but still. If I had Return, we would have won this run. But you know what they say, woulda, shoulda, coulda, you can't win them all, and I gotta fake you guys out sometime. Hope you guys enjoyed the run. I really enjoyed making it, and I hope you guys will be here for whatever comes next. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.